Welcome, fellas, to this show. I'm having the absolute honor of having an all-star lineup of musicians. Joel Taylor, drums, an amazing drummer. We'll take a deep dive into his career in a moment. John Zaika, who does everything. I mean, we'll take a deep dive into that too. Arnie Vilches, an amazing guitar player. How's everyone doing
It's
tonight?
wait, it's Vilches.
Vilches, is that how you say what
Vilches.
how do I pronounce it?
You say
Vilches?
Vilches? Yeah. put the L somewhere else, right?
My last name being Signorella, I get all types of different pronunciations when people meet me. So I totally understand, and I apologize for the butchering of the name. So how's everyone doing?
Oh, good.
Good, very good.
Doing good, brother. Doing good.
Awesome.
Man.
Joel, I want to start with you. I mean, you're a remarkable drummer with great accolades.
Thank you
for
very
me,
much.
absolutely, man. My biggest question I want to start off with you right away is who are your influence? Because with me, I hear a lot of things. Dennis Chambers, Vinnie Colaiuta, Carter Buford, David Garibaldi, a lot of funk, and also a very laid back but powerful style of playing. Who are your influences?
Man, all over the map. From when I was a kid, it was more rock influences like Ginger Baker, John Bonham, Mitch Mitchell. That was probably my big three when I first started, when I was like 8, 9 years old. And then, as time went by, I got more into the fusion thing. So Tony Williams, Billy Cobham, Jack DeJohnette, those guys really influenced me. And then later on, like in college years, I always wanted to be a studio drummer. Actually, I wanted to be a studio trumpet player, but that's a whole nother story. So when I quit the trumpet, I just said, well, I'll concentrate on drums. And so I studied all the big studio guys. So, there was Steve Gadd, John Robinson, Ricky Lawson, Jeff Porcaro, Carlos Vega, and then of course Vinny. When Vinny came onto the scene. So those, probably my biggest influence, I would say, would be Tony Williams, and Steve Gadd, and probably Vinny.
Absolutely. I could hear the Vinny in your playing, and you also mentioned like Keith Moon and Mitch Mitchell, I believe was the one you mentioned, and John
Mitch, yeah.
Yeah, guys that are powerful, and I could hear that. And you also mentioned that you're a trumpet player. Is that why you're so good at hitting the horn orchestrations with the cymbals? Because you're amazing at that.
Oh, thanks. I don't think one has to do with the other, but it definitely helped me be a better musician and be a more musical drummer. So, when I'm tracking or whether I'm tracking or playing live, I try to play the song, and sometimes it just calls for 2 and 4 and no fills. Sometimes like when I was doing a Holdsworth gig, it was like, put everything you got in every song and every night. So, it just all over the map. But yeah, definitely, learning trumpet, learning melody, learning harmony has definitely helped me as far as just a musical approach, for sure.
When did you start drumming?
I started when I was like 7 or 8, and then my older brother was a drummer, and he was like 5 years older. So my mom couldn't stand 2 drummers, so she bought me a horn, a trumpet. And little did she know the trumpet was equally as loud and obnoxious as the drums. I went to a Maynard Ferguson clinic years and years ago. I was still in high school, and he said, "Yeah, the 2 most important guys, or they think they are the most important guys in a big band, are the drummer and the lead trumpet player." And I was both, so it was kind of.
So what's the thing that ignited the fire when you heard a drummer for the first time? Because for me, I remember exactly when it was. Neil Peart. Now, I was a Motley Crue fan prior to that. I was listening to a lot of different music, Iron Maiden, but something about Neil's playing in Rush, and this wasn't even like a super prog record. It was an off-brand one, like a live release, a show of hands. And I heard the song Mission, and the orchestration, I'm like, the way he articulated his playing, I got so passionate. what was the song or the first record that made you be like, yo, I got to do this?
Man, you know what? I can't really pinpoint that. I've never really thought about that. Because like I said, my main influences up until college were trumpet players. So I used to listen to, Freddie Hubbard, and Doc Severinsen was I was a huge fan of his because he was the number one studio cat of one of them out here in LA. I would probably say drumistic wise, probably the just Bonham playing, with all that crazy stuff with Zeppelin. He had such a great feel that he's still probably my favorite rock drummer ever. Um, and then I guess after that it would probably Cobham, because that's how I heard him before I heard Tony Williams. And just it was amazing the kind of stuff he was doing with Mahavishnu Orchestra, and also Narada Walden with Jeff Beck and Mahavishnu. That was some powerful stuff. So I got really into Wired and another album called Blow.
Was Narda the drummer on the Wired?
Hey, he was one of them. Yeah. There was several on both of those.
I'm sorry to take the interview over here, but I've always wanted to ask Joel.
No,
I've known him
take it.
since '99. I've never asked him what he thinks of Alex Van Halen, because
Ridiculous.
I love the tone of his drums, the tone of his snare, and
he played Black Dots, which have a very unique sound. Tony Williams, had played Black Dots as well. There's a very unique sound in those heads. But yeah, I mean, Alex is a bad boy. Like
what
ridiculous.
I love about Alex is he's obviously very powerful, and like Johnny said, his drum sound is incredible, very big. But I love the subtleties he did with hi-hats. Like, he did a lot of open closes that people don't realize, because they just hear that, like you said before, 2 and 4, which is great. Like an AC/DC style, like right in the pocket. But he always did things. And if you listen to songs like Panama or Jump.
Yeah. Panama. Yeah. And Jump. Yeah, that's incredible. Right off the bat, and all his cymbal work. And he was blowing some chops on that stuff for sure.
For Teacher too. These are all major hits.
Oh yeah,
he's playing his ass off.
There's something
on major hits.
There's something more to the story though about the Black Dot, and I forgot what it was because I just saw it a few weeks ago. But I've had several mixes since then. They went into some deep story about that snare drum. There's some. Maybe it was Rick. Maybe it was Rick Beto, that guy that does all the makes the song great.
Yeah. He
did a thing about that snare drum.
Huh.
They tried to. That's what it was. They tried to recreate it. It's on his YouTube channel. They tried to recreate it
on Hot for Teacher or Jump or
just his snare drum sound. They just
in general. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it was Mean Streets. Maybe it was one of those songs. I don't know. They just tried to recreate that snare drum, and they were talking about the miking and the Black Dot, and there was so much more of all this madness that went be kind of like the story of the Wallets.
Speaking of Van Halen,
actually, I think Eddie Van Halen actually wired a transformer to the snare drum and electronically slowed it down to get that sound.
Right.
I think that's what he did.
Speaking of Van Halen, we got, obviously rest in peace to a master legend who had probably the most unique sound that you'll ever hear. Prolific player. What a talented family. He was also a great piano player. Just my heart goes out to his brother Alex, who we were just talking to, all the musicians, his family, everyone that suffered this devastating blow. So rest in peace, Eddie. We all love you here. We're all big fans. So speaking of guitar, we're going to transition over to Arnie. You're an amazing guitar player. Let's talk about your influences. First of all, you play in a Santana cover band, and that's not an easy task at all. So I imagine that would be very, very heavy in your influences. But tell me about your origins. Where did you start with music?
Well, I was born and raised in Philadelphia. My family's Puerto Rican. So all my early musical influences were Latin American music, Spanish, traditional salsa, what we called the Puerto Rican, they call it Jibaro music. And basically it's like the Puerto Rican hick music, you know, it's like bluegrass. And so that's the first thing that I learned. My uncles, I had 3 uncles, they all play guitar. My dad played guitar. My mom sang. All my family was all musical. So for me, I thought everybody in the world could play an instrument. I didn't find out until I was like in 2nd grade that not everybody could play an instrument, play guitar, you know? So, but yeah, so, you know, those are my earliest influences. When I was in 4th grade, basically, well, actually, let me back up. My dad put a guitar in my hands when I was like 4 years old, and the sucker was so big, I had to put the body on one chair, and all I did was strum on the neck, and the strings were about this far away off of the neck. So every time I played it, my fingers would bleed, and my dad would tell me, "It's okay, don't worry, you know, just wash the blood off. It's okay, you'll be fine," you know. So that was my my introduction to guitar. Painful, you know.
That's the way to do it, though. I mean, I had a shitty bass drum pedal when I was a kid, and it was so cheap, it would break all the time. I had to duct tape it, and Joe will tell you that duct tape is like to save your ass on gigs. And when in doubt, use duct tape. Something falls apart, just duct tape it together, figure it out later. So I had the world's worst bass pedal. And it made my legs and my calves so big because I had to really play. So when I started doing those John Bottom triplets, you know, between the hi-hats, my foot would fly. People started calling me Rambo Toe. You know? But it was only because I had a shitty pedal. If I had a DW like 9000, my legs would be weak because that shit does the work for you.
Right,
you know?
right.
But it's a great pedal. Don't get me wrong. It's a great pedal. But I had I don't even know what it was. It was awful. I think I got it at a garage sale. It might have even been from a kid's set for all I know. But, you know, moving forward, Arnie, I want to pick your brain about a lot of things. You have a very unique style. We talked about influences. I've watched many videos of you playing guitar, and I know what you've been involved in over the past, which is very impressive, and we'll get into that in a moment. But what is your biggest guitar hero inspiration, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, there's several. So obviously, Carlos Santana was one. The first guy that I listened to was, believe it or not, Andre Segovia, classical guitar. So I learned that about 4th grade, and then I started hearing electric guitar when I was in 7th grade. My neighbor next door was playing Soul Sacrifice, and I could put my ear up against the wall and hear, what the hell is that? What's going on? So I heard Santana. I heard that. So Santana, I would say that. Then immediately after that, Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, all the classic rock, Zeppelin. You know, those are the first like guitar, you know, like rock guitar influences that I had. So early Latin rock and roll were those guys basically. As soon as I heard Hendrix, man, I heard I had the Smash Hits album, and that just blew me away. I was like, how does somebody get that sound? So I just kept striving to do, you know, to get that, you know. I did everything, man, to try and get a fuzz pedal from my parents for Christmas, birthday, anything. You know, I'll take the trash out, whatever. So they finally got me one, and of course, off I went. But yeah, those are the first guys. After that, I started listening to guys like Johnny Winter, you know, Eric Clapton. I got into the blues real heavy, and then of course those guys showed me about like Muddy Waters and the original old guys that they were listening to. You know, Howlin' Wolf. I mean, all that stuff. Bo Diddley, BB, you know. So the blues is a huge influence. Of course, Carlos Santana, he is really a blues guitar player. The thing about Carlos is that more than anything, you know, he's got chops and all that, but he doesn't have the chops like, say, like Al Di Meola or John McLaughlin or somebody like that. His strength really is being a band leader, the whole concept of the music that he put together. He made a sound. He created a whole genre, basically, a Latin rock genre. So he was kind of at the forefront of that thing. So, you know, so I guess I kind of carry some of that stuff as well. But then after that, I went into listening to cats like John McLaughlin, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Al Di Meola.
Mitchell
I
Foreman.
I fell in love with Al Di
Foreman was
Meola.
in that, wasn't he, Joel?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. So, and it's funny, Joel, you had mentioned Jeff Beck. You know, I grabbed the Blow by Blow album, the Wired album. I sat there and like literally learned every song on both those records. You know, trying to cop all that stuff, get everything note for note, all that. You know, and I didn't even know what he was doing. I had no idea. I didn't take any formal lessons. I just played by ear. So I did a lot of watching. There was no YouTube. There was no, you know, like today, there's no tabs. None of that was out there. So it was literally just get the needle, put it on the record, let it play, pull it up again, get the lid, do it again, you know, for hours and hours and hours on end. So, but yeah, Jeff Beck, Mahavishnu, John McLaughlin, Birds of Fire was like my all-time favorite album. So then I got into that stuff. Then something happened. About I think it was 78. I was driving down the Roosevelt Boulevard in Philadelphia, and the nighttime DJ in WMMR, Philadelphia, right? His name's Ed Shockey, you know, and Ed Shockey was like, okay, everybody, kids, we're gonna play the Midnight album tonight, okay? And guess what? Tonight we have new music. Yeah, it's a new band called Van Halen. And then Eruption rips out.
Oh.
That changed my world right there. I was like, oh my God, what's this? You know. So of course, Eddie, huge influence, you know, late 70s, early 80s.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So before I ask you about, you know, some of your favorite, you know, playing experiences, musicians you worked with, I got to talk about how wonderful your hair is. Okay. We got to do a hair report here. And what is your hair influence? Like, cause this thing, I've even noticed it like via like when I'm on your, you know, Instagram or on your Facebook, I'm like, and your shirts are stunning. I know it's a little crazy, but let's talk about the hair and the shirts.
Oh my God! What do you want to know?
What's the hair influence? Like, what do you do? That's a beautiful
exactly.
hair there.
Takes 58 minutes for him to blow dry his hair because I waited at the NAMM show.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, Johnny, you got the Dirk Diggler from Boogie Nights.
He does, man.
I haven't gotten a haircut, bro. Since I left LA, I got one person cut my hair, and then she said to me, mullets are coming back in, and I was like, so I haven't gotten a haircut. And then the hairdresser from LA, cuts Arnie's hair, I introduced Arnie to her. He's like, do I need to fly to Dallas to cut your hair? And I said, I'm that petrified, yeah. Hey, though, hang on a second. We're missing a chunk here. We got to go back to Joel goes to Berkeley and ask him what he went to Berkeley for.
Oh.
All right, let's hear it.
To pick up babes? Oh, no, that's right. There was only 2 chicks in the whole school.
You went there for engineering.
I did. I went there. Well, I went there to drum and to, basically when I was there, I figured since what I really wanted to do was studio drumming, so I figured it would be good for me to learn both sides of the, the audio desk, learn the engineering side, learn the drumming side. So yeah, I actually did get a degree in they call it MP&E. It's music production and engineering. So that's officially what I was there for. But I never really wanted to be an engineer. Although now, these times I have my own studio here and it's really paid off. But what's that?
Jackalope.
Oh yeah, Jackalope Studio. Yeah. So I'm out here almost every day doing something for somebody. So it's that definitely paid off.
Is that where you do like the Rock Band and Guitar Hero sessions? That's pretty impressive, dude. And I tell you what, a lot of those songs kicked my ass. Can we talk about that experience working for those video games?
Sure. Yeah, that was it was like right when I first moved to Altadena, so it was maybe 14 years ago or so, and I did a couple of years of it. What happened was when the games first came out, the original artists, like the Police or the Who or whatever, they didn't want to release the masters, but that to have a game based on that, they had to have something that sounded pretty much exactly like the masters. So I did the first couple. I did the first 3 Guitar Hero games, and I would say I probably did just a quarter of the tunes. So total, I probably did 120 tunes on those things. But it was great work that I had to transcribe. I mean, my day was, I'd come out here, I'd listen to the track, I'd transcribe the parts, and then I would have to pitch the drums. So pitching toms isn't so hard, but pitching bass drums and snare drums is a bitch. And figuring out, I would have to do research, like what kind of kit they have, what kind of heads they'd have, and I'd try and do, the best I could to match it up. What's that?
You certainly did a great job, dude.
Oh, thank you.
That's the drummer with perfect pitch.
That's versatility too, because I mean, there's so many different types of, sounds of music in those video games, whether it's Metallica, to Rush,
for sure. The only redo I had to do was one of the Rush tunes. I'm thinking it was Tom Sawyer. There was a couple of 30-second note fills in there, and they. I mean, even though I played it right, it was just like an attitude thing. And the head of Activision called it, and it said, or whoever it was for, there was a couple of different companies we were working for, and he said, that one particular fill. So that was about the only thing that I had to do a little redo on. But it was just a simple 2-bar punch in or whatever.
Well,
but
I'm sorry, Johnny. Go ahead, Johnny.
No, I was wondering what were some of the tracks that you played at? Wasn't it like versatility, like Iron Maiden to Rush?
Yeah, I did. God, which tune? There was definitely an Iron Maiden tune, a bunch of Black Sabbath tunes.
Run to the Hills.
Run to the Hills. Yeah, I did that one. Yeah, I did the Kansas Wayward Son. I did XYZ. I did. I think 3 Rush tunes. God, it's been so long now. Hold on 1 sec. I'll be right back.
You got it, man.
Just gonna go get him.
Exactly. He's gonna figure that out. That's great, though. That's dope, man. It's incredible.
Where he's going right now when we listen to this cool chamber reverb is he's going into the drum room. So he's probably got the chart in there. There it is.
Look at this.
Oh, the
Original chart.
These are about half of the transcriptions. Whoa, shit. So, damn. I mean, and they're all handwritten. So I'm like the only guy that could read this stuff. Okay, here's Radar Love.
Oh,
jeez. Shit. It's kind of hard to see, but it's all this stuff transcribed, everything, and it was great, man. It was a great learning experience. It was great, having the financial. They paid me to experiment here, basically. So I had at the time I had probably about 30 snare drums, so I'd use different snare drums for different tracks. I have probably 6 different kits, so I'd set up different kits, and some of the stuff was older, so. Back in the day, they didn't use bottom heads, some of the drummers, so I'd have to do that sound and, different. When I was doing some of the Vinny Appice stuff, he had silver dots. They don't make those anymore. That was a Ludwig product, so I had to, go with the black dots, but it's pretty similar sound. So anyway,
That's why you got hired for the job. I mean, you were paid attention to the detail.
Exactly. I actually got the gig just because they at first, I think Bissonette did most of the first one, and then they were looking for somebody else because Bissonette got busy doing whatever he was doing, and they called my buddy Toss Panos, and Toss couldn't. It was for like the awards show, like best audio for video games. So they asked Toss to do that through his friend Lyle Workman, who's a great film composer and killer guitar player. He couldn't do it, so he told me, I can't do this. Maybe, give Lyle a call. So I called Lyle up and I said, dude, if you need somebody to do it, I'm the guy. I can learn all the tunes. So we did like a medley of like 15 tunes, some Sabbath, some Zeppelins or whatever. And then after the gig, it went so well that the music company that was working for Activision, they said, "Hey man, do you have a setup at home?" I said, "Yeah, that's what I do." They said, "All right, you want to be the guy recording these?" I said, "Absolutely." So it was just being in the right place at the right time, and
that's how it works in this business.
That's how it works.
That's how it works. So one last thing, or maybe two last things on the video games that I want to ask you about. A couple other things you did. So much I could talk about with you, but going back to Rush, as much as I love Neil, I hate playing to Rush. Like I love his playing, and it works for him. And it comes across in a great way, and God rest his soul, another hero we lost this year. But it's very claustrophobic for me. Like a guy like Jeff, like Vaccaro, I just relate to so much more. John Bonham, a guy tattooed here, Fool in the Rain.
Oh, there you go.
You know what I'm
saying? Me too. Totally. I'm not used to a big kit. I'm not used to a big kit like that. It was. I've played big kits before, but it's not really my thing. I prefer. Give me a one up, one down, kick and snare. I'm fine. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge, and since I played with all the the great fusion guitarists through my career, I actually had some chops to pull those kind of things off.
Did that stuff? Did you get his gazillion tom drums lined
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
How many was that?
I don't remember. There was probably like 9 or so. It was. I don't think I put 9 in there, but at least 6, definitely. Wow. Whatever I heard and I transcribed. That's what I put down. So he might have had a couple of extra toms that he never played. Like when Buddy Rich used to play, he always had a big a 16-inch floor tom that he would never touch for his drink, his towels, and he would put his brushes and his extra pair of stick on there.
Hey, didn't he have like rototoms too, Neil?
I think at one point. At one point, sure, yeah. I did the best I could to research that stuff and check out through YouTube. What kind of kit he was playing at the time, and then I just kind of went from there. As best as I could.
Neil swapped out the rototoms for triggers or rolling drum pads to get that sound. Yeah. His kit, by the time they went on like their final 3 or 4 tours, which they still kicked ass, which was amazing. Lastly, again in the video game, Boston's 4-play long time, playing that on like master level or whatever it was, kicked my ass. If you have anything to do with that, not a problem.
I don't think. What was the name of the tune?
4-play long time.
4-play long time.
There's such a long time.
The beginning.
I don't think I did that one.
Oh.
Yeah. No, but which one was it on?
Oh man, this goes back a ways. I'm gonna say this goes back to 2007 or 8.
Oh.
And my sister would hit the mic, and she'd have this down, and we know that the lead singer of Boston's notes are not easy to hit. And she's not even a singer, so she'd beat up on me and say, "You're a drummer. Get your shit together." And I'm like, hard. And I'm playing on this little, electronic drum set. The bass drum splits in half, and she's like, "Go to the store and get a new one." I'm like, because my sister is so competitive, and I love her to death. Kara, if you're listening, big up to you. I love you. So she's like, "Get your ass to the store, go buy a new one." I'm like, "It's $50 for a pedal." She's like, making it rain on me. "Go get it. We're gonna beat this." Like, "No, dude." Like, no. But
Yeah, no, I didn't. As far as my recollection, I don't remember doing that one. And plus, that, like I said, most of the tracks were still, from the original bands. I did the ones where the original bands didn't want to give up the masters, and actually that's why it ended in it. Yeah, I think that when we were doing Rock Band, they got into some sort of lawsuit with the Romantics because we covered it so well that they said you're fooling the public. It was anyway. So that was the end. That was the end of it.
You smoked it so good.
Like about you.
Yeah, you smoked it so good. They actually thought it was the real track. So complete opposite from rock. I mean, obviously you could play jazz. You played with Michael Bublé, who I'm a big fan of. What was that experience like for you?
Oh, that was great. I was doing David Foster at the time, and I was basically part of his rhythm section with Brian Bromberg and some of the other cats, and we would back up his new artists. And so Michael at the time, it was right when he got his first record deal. So he was, new. He was such a nice cat and funny as hell. Does the greatest Dean Martin impression of anybody. The drunk thing, it was hilarious. So that was great. And working with Foster, I did that stuff for about 4 years, and we just kind of we would break in all David's new artists, and we probably did, I would say, not a whole lot of dates with Michael, but I would say 2 to 3 weeks worth of dates, when he was first getting a career started. So it was a blast, and Foster's such a perfectionist that, and a legend. It was a great gig.
Absolutely. Arnie before was talking about styles. Like, I'm a big fan of samba, rumbas, rumbas. As a drummer, we know that you got to cover those areas because even though you might not use it in a song, maybe for a fill or just an influence of that kind of hybrid.
Sure.
Like Jeff Porcaro, Mushanga, perfect example. He's got the very tribal, very hybrid of Latin and very, very tribal type themes. So where I'm going with this is you worked with Gloria Estefan, if I'm not correct.
I played on 4 tracks on her new record, and it's the new record's called Brazil 305. So I got that gig because I do a lot of Brazilian gigs, and I love that music. And one of my buddy's keyboard player is Ricky Pantoja, and he called me up. One of the producers on the project wanted a drummer that was familiar with Brazilian music but could get great sounds, and track it at home. And Ricky recommended me, and the rest is history. So, I mean, I picked up the album, and it just came out like in August, like mid-August, and most of the stuff that I heard was just percussion, and I could hear some of my drums in there, but it was mixed way down. So after I did my parts, they came back in and did like tons of percussion, but from cats down in Brazil. And so I don't know exactly how much of me is actually in there anymore. I did hear a couple of cymbal things. I heard some hi-hat, kick drum. Most of the tom stuff I think they took out because they replaced it with percussion stuff.
One of my favorite tribal groups is like the Afro-Cuban one. I love that pattern in 6. It's so awesome. I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead.
No, he was talking.
I was going to say the only thing that you probably have on is just a hi-hat, man. That's what those guys do. It's like, hey,
yeah,
what?
The one
whatever.
Right, you got paid.
Hey, at least you're on it. You get credits for it, dude. So speaking of credits,
the one that everybody always asks me about, Joel, is the break. I mean, especially all the Toto geeks from the last Kimball record, is the turn from the first chorus to the second verse on My Feet. Everybody wants, they're like that, oh my God, especially the Europeans, oh my God, that turn. Yeah. When you do like an off-time thing with Mitchell, remember that?
I do not.
I remember it, and it kicked my ass when I tried to learn it. Thank you.
Yeah,
I called Johnny right away because he sent me the record early. And by the way, congratulations! It's a great record, you guys.
Thank you.
It kicked that turnaround, and he knew exactly what I said. I was like, I took the whole album in. I'm like, there's one cut, there's one turnaround. He's like, I know exactly what you mean, and he told me exactly the second of the song.
I'd already got
on my
messages.
On my feet.
On my feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, throw it up there.
So,
since we're talking about Bobby, Arnie, you played with him before, and ironically, that's how we're all
That's
connected.
how I met him.
That's how we're all connected.
That's how
we're all connected through Bobby Kimball. What was your experience playing with Bobby? And tell me about other experiences with musicians. You have a great resume. Things that you might want to mention outside of that as well.
Okay, well, a good friend of mine, Dexter Espinoza, he's the guy that introduced me to Bobby. He had a gig and he says, "Hey, you want to play guitar for Bobby Kimball?" I'm like, sure, So went and did a show up in LA at a theater. It was a benefit for veterans and all that. So at that point, he was using a band that Dexter and I were both in. It was called Union of Saints, and so that was kind of Bobby's backup band. And then Bobby went through a few more shows, so we wound up just putting a band together to back him up. Bobby, man, what a great singer! The guy's got the most amazing voice. I can't tell you how strong his voice is. I mean, he's as loud as my guitar. That's how loud his voice is. It's amazing.
When I did a track with him,
112, Joel.
I did a track. See, I told you, he'll tell you the minutes and seconds. This guy. That's what.
Okay, let's hear this.
112.
Let's hear this.
one more time. That right there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's just kind of. I wasn't thinking anything. It was just what came out.
Why did you do this to me? Why did you do this to me? Because I'm the type of guy that if I get influenced, and thank you for the influence, because you challenge.
Oh.
Like when you have someone you admire and listen to that challenges you, you want to sit there and think. I'm like, what the hell just happened here? But it works. It lands on that beautiful one, and it's just got this delay when it does land on one. And
it's just
like on a and or It's like weird.
I'm just hitting the ends of the beat for like over the bar line and to the next. Yeah, and then it comes about.
That's the questions I get about fills too. Everybody's like, he's got a delay. I said he's on the ands when you do those late fills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm not thinking about it. It's just something that comes out.
It's feel. You can tell.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned drummers like Dennis Chambers, Vinny Colaiuta, who have got great technique.
Love them. Yeah.
But there's a lot of feel to that,
Absolutely.
You just did like a thing. Didn't you do some school or something? You called me from Japan or something. You were doing that thing with Dennis Chambers.
That was China 2 years ago. Yeah, I was over there with Frank and Bali, and we just did 2 concerts in a week, but we did about 4 master classes, and Dennis was on the same bill, so we were hanging hard. Yeah, I love Dennis, but he absolutely one of my big influences as well, even though I didn't say it earlier. But yeah, so when he came out with the Schofield band, it was like, what the heck is this? His groove was so powerful, and anyway,
he's just
effortless. Yeah,
throwing it back,
incredible.
Throwing it back to Arnie. We talked about Bobby Kimball, that experience. Tell me about other experiences now that you're involved in, or just historically that are your favorite that you participated in.
Well, one of the longest standing relationships I have with one of my earliest rock star heroes, Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad. I started, I had a Jimi Hendrix poster, I had a Carlos Santana poster, and I had a Grand Funk poster in my room. I was 13 years old watching these guys, I mean, he was like the first power trio, no shirt, armbands, hair down to his butt, screaming rock and roll guitar. And in fact, they were the influence for Van Halen. If you watch early Van Halen and watch Grand Funk, you're going to see like almost like a ripoff of Grand Funk, with Van Halen. The way that Eddie dressed, the way he was on stage, using the knee pads to slide across the stage while he's doing solos. Mark Farner did that 69, 70, 71, 72, back in those days. And so, he was a major rock star. And I wound up meeting him back in '87. And I went out on a tour. There was 5 bands. It was Rare Earth, Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, Mark Farner from Grand Funk, the Guess Who, and the original Bachman Turner Overdrive got back together. They called it the 70s Fest, right? So, and they started out with doing basically it was about a month-long tour. They did 28 dates in 30 days, 2 days off, going all across like the East Coast, Midwest. Most of them were like in the round theaters, some like 10,000 seat theaters, 5,000, 7,000, 8,000, and a lot of small towns, like just, places that people don't normally get music. So went and did that. And I went out as a guitar tech, believe it or not. So I was there, met Mark. Mark had just recorded his first album, Post Grand Funk, back in '87. It was called, what was the name of that one? Just Another Injustice. And so he was looking for a guitar tech, and he was looking for a guitar player. So I wound up, I'm setting up the stage with all these guys. So there's, we got the drummer from Rare Earth, we got the bass player from the Guess Who, and the keyboard player from Rare Earth, and the guys from Mark Farner's band, the guys from Bachman Turner. We're all jamming together, right? And so we're sitting there. So hey, let's play Spain. So me and Mark Farner's bass player, Lawrence Buckner, we start busting out Spain. Everybody's out there jamming the Spain and all that. And so, they're looking at me like, you're a freaking guitar tech. How the hell do you do this? I said, well, I play a little bit. Turns out Mark was looking for a guitar player to do some solos on his first record. He had a guy named Phil Kagan who played a lot of lead guitar on his first record. So by the time about halfway through the tour, he heard me play, and he goes, well, why don't you learn this song? So I sat there, learned a song, played it for him, and he hired me. So I wound up, joining him at that point, and I've been with, this was 1988, and I've been with him from that point on until when he got back together with Grand Funk. The original Grand Funk got back together in 90, I think it was 97, 96, 97. So
I want to say this, though. I'm glad you went in that direction, because I wanted to ask you, I've studied your playing. I also play guitar, not nearly as great as you. You're very one of a kind, and that's why I want to bring this up, dude. Like, my thing is, when I watch you play, it's very effortless. So was guitar something you had to sit down at nausea and play for hours and hours and hours? Or was it something that came natural to you? What was your upbringing with studying the instrument?
I pretty much played by ear.
I can tell. Yep.
And I didn't really learn music until I started teaching, because so the earliest stuff was just, it was hard. I mean, like I said, I had really crappy instruments, and it was hard to play physically. It's not like playing piano. You play piano, you get notes. It's hard. You got to struggle to get the notes. So, a few years of pain, and then I finally figured out, oh, you can use light strings and all that. So, but I had such a passion for it. I literally would come home, pretend I did my homework, and probably play guitar for about like 3 hours, and mom would come, hey, so 3 or 4 hours a day. The best thing I learned was my earliest classical guitar teacher. He was basically a kid that was about 3 years older than me. I asked him, how did you get so good? He was 16 years old. The guy was like a prodigy. And he goes, well, I practiced 6 hours a day. I was going, damn, 6 hours a day? He goes, yeah. So literally, the minute he got home from school, he would eat dinner, do a little homework, and he'd practice from that time till about 10 o'clock at night, every day. I was like, damn. So I took that to heart and tried to practice as much as I could. I knew that's what it took to get good. So I did that for a bunch of years.
I catch that vibe from you, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I wished I had taken lessons and learned how to read music earlier on. I probably would have, been able to get. I
think you're good the way you are, brother. I think. I think you got it down, bro.
Right? Yeah. Now it's all. Now it's all good. Well, back in the day, I wouldn't. I didn't get gigs that I had to read for. So guys that played, not as good as I did were getting the gigs, and it kind of got me all pissed off. So I was like, okay. So I learned,
competition.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm going to move over. We were talking about hair before. First of all, I'm going to tell you my hair. Paulie
Bro.
Walnut's wings from Sopranos. I got some
Right.
grays on each side, and this is not. I'm not dyeing it. It just happens to be this way. So we're going to move over to another great hairstyle and Dirk Diggler over here.
Funny how?
Hey, Zaika. What do I amuse you? What am I, a fucking clown?
I want to be a great big shining star.
So Johnny, I got some questions for you, my man. All right.
Sir.
So I appreciate you linking me up with all these great people over the years. You've worked with great people. You want to tell us about your story a little bit coming up?
There isn't much to it. I mean, Joel is my hero. Arnie's my hero. And, I must say, first of all, we have a band together. Us, it's called Tribal Reasons, and it took a long time to get it out there. We're finally getting it out there now, and hopefully it leads to more stuff. But nobody's looking to make millions. It's just to get maybe some sync placements and stuff going on. I came up in a musical house in the fact that my dad was a trumpet player, wasn't very good, but he loved Stan Kenton. So we would go to all these Stan Kenton shows, man. And the drummer for Stan Kenton, we would be with my father on the weekends, would come on the weekend, and I had a pad, one of those rubber pads, and these B sticks. And he would show me Mama, Dada, Mama, Dada, Mama, Dada, Mama, Dada. That was all I learned.
And that was that in Detroit?
Yeah.
So Stan Kenton's rhythm section was based in Detroit, or he was at the time?
Yeah, and
I didn't know that.
They were all the interlocking guys. His drummer was a fireman out of Ypsilanti.
Oh, wow. You know who?
I forget the guy's name. If he said it, I might remember it. But my dad would bring him there and go, "Hey, teach my kids something."
Peter Erskine used to play with them too. I'm sure it was probably either before that or probably before.
The 4 freshmen filtered through there.
Ah.
So sweet. So that and Stan Kenton and Sinatra, Billie Holiday. I mean, the gangster music was in our house. In fact, all my friends, all the friends thought my dad was in the mafia. He was a car dealer in a car, he owned a car dealership, and he was a salesman as well. But there was that, and I wanted to play drums so bad. They got me a little drum kit that had a light on there, and they would put me in the middle of their dinner parties, and it was a paper kit, so I'd blow through the kick drum head immediately.
I had the same one.
So how did you learn to play piano? Because that's your main instrument when you're composing, right?
No doubt.
Yeah, that and it was bass for a while. Now I'm.
Oh, right.
I played bass on these latest tracks that we've been doing.
That's interesting, John. Let me ask you, a lot of people don't find the foundation of writing a song, orchestrating a song off the bass. What's your logic there with that? Because obviously it works for you.
Let me clear that up. I mean, many moons ago when I was hanging out with, how I met Joel was the Brian Bromberg thing. I was working at Guitar Center, and they transferred me from the Hollywood store to the Dallas store when it opened. Rich Pedanik wanted me to come here. And I got a call from, actually what happened is the band was at the Caravan of Dreams, and the guitar player, Richard Smith. They had a meltdown he was having a meltdown with a tube amp. Something was going on, and this guy, Gene Vano, called me up and said, "I hear you're a guy that can get things done." And I said, "Sure." I went out there and I brought some tubes with me, fixed his amp, and carried on. And then a month later, I get a call from this lady named Lucille Hunt. And she's, "What do you call it?" with a New York accent. And she's like, "Gene Vano tells me I have an artist named Brian Bromberg, and he's playing in Oklahoma, that mafiosa Italian joint that they would play in Oklahoma City." I forget that guy's name, Bromberg. If he hears this, we'll start laughing. But she said, can you tour manage Oklahoma, and I think it was Austin and San Antonio and something else. And Joel wasn't on that gig. It was David Carasoni. And so I I went up there and did that. It was two bass players, Bromberg, Alec Milstein, Bromberg switching to piccolo and lead stuff. And I met those guys and I ran his sound and tour managed. And then it came up again and I was like, well, maybe this is something I like to do. I always wanted to be something more in the music. I wanted to be around great players. And that's one thing everybody asked me, well, how do you end up with stuff sounding really good? And I surround myself with great players. I mean, I can't take the credit. It's like when you work with these guys, you just hand them your canvas and go, please, can you put your colors on it? And they put their colors on it.
Yeah, but John, you sell yourself short. You come up with great melodies, great hooks. You're the hook man.
You're the hook man, Dirk.
That's it.
You know, I mean, I've been asked this when Kimball and I were on the last record. It's like I would have to be a fool to go into a session with Joel or Mitchell Foreman and go, you know, I want Joel, I would like for you to sound like, you know, whoever on this track. I mean, you bring in Joel because of his musicality and his groove, and you let him go.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I have to, like on the Tribal Reasons stuff, I'd have to go, Joel, please come on in. I got videos of it. I saw him the other day. He just give me
my God.
Look. He would give me this look through that glass to his right. He would give me this look like, yeah. Because he approaches everything as he's recording an album and it's Pocket City. You know, he's still got that, but he's got all these other chops. And I know that, you know, there's this fine line of that, but this is a more drama rock kind of stuff. So
yeah,
anyway,
I want to segue over to that in a moment, but go ahead, Johnny.
Anyway, so we ended up, I did another Brahms, and then Joel and I met. It was, I think we met on one other thing, but then it became Jeff Lorber All-Stars. And it was Art Porter, Jeff Lorber, Brian Bromberg, and Joel Taylor. Was there anybody else on that?
Woo!
Who'd you say for guitar?
No, there was nobody on guitar. It was
because
and Lorber and Art Porter.
Oh, right.
So you guys were so badass. I didn't even need a guitar.
You sure? No, you sure Paul Pesco wasn't on that one?
Oh, maybe he was. We did Mount Hood. Remember we did Mount Hood and we had that laser on Rick Braun's head from the crowd? Me and Bromberg did. Or not Rick Braun, David, who's the piano player? David, the jazz piano player.
Oh, Benoit.
Yeah, Bromberg and I had a laser. We were putting it on his piano in front of like 10,000 people.
Anyway, yeah, because Paul Jackson Jr. used to play with the Lorber thing too when I was doing it, and so did Paul Pesco did a bunch of those.
So anyway, what had happened is Joel was on that gig. We met. We first Coach House, some other place in San Diego. Then we had to go do Mount Hood, and we were in this RV. And I met Joel on that gig, and everybody always asked me, well, how did you end up with Lorber? And I don't know if Joel remembers this or not, but I was like the tour guy, the grunt, moving Bromberg's gear and helping any way I could. And, you know, if there was some kind of sound thing or monitor on that. But Lorber's double-tier keyboard stand went down. Do you remember this, Joel?
I do not.
On the downbeat of their first song, it went down, and I raced out there and hooked that thing up. And this was like first MIDI incarnation going on, you know. So I plugged him back in, and when we got back to Bromberg said to me, I'm going to give it about maybe 5 hours, and there's going to be a phone call. He said he always snags people. And sure enough, my stuff was in North Carolina. I had a beach house, and there's a call. I'm sending a car for you, and you're coming to my house. And I didn't leave for a year or something like that. And Joel lived about 4 miles from there in Santa Monica, and I was in Pacific Palisades. So every chance I got, I would run away and go see Joel, and we go play darts, or I'd be bugging him. I'd be writing stuff, and I would bug Joel. Would I do this on piano? Would I do this? And he'd say, well, I was writing Christine with Dave Barnett, and I'd say, Joel, what about this? Would this be cool? And he would always tell me, and he was kind of mentoring me. He didn't know it, but he was, because Jeff wouldn't give me the time. He just wanted me to sample records. And I was writing stuff on an ONW and leaving cassette tapes in Kimball's mailbox. That's how I'd leave cassette. Once I got his address, I left cassette tape of Tell Tomorrow. Christine, he never listened to it. Wasn't until he came to Dallas. I sent you the original session. You're on drums on it from here in Dallas. I sent it to you the other day. anyway, so then finally Bobby called me and he said, come over to my house, bring something else and come over. And we stayed up all night. He still got a dictaphone tape of it. And then he still wasn't all the way in with me. And it wasn't until he came to Dallas with his band and Greg Merkel, a friend of mine, and after the gig party, there was hundreds of people in this guy's room. Greg Merkel just yelled, shut up! Everybody shut the fuck up! And he puts Christine on, and Bobby's sitting on the couch, and he looks at me, and he's got this just blank stare, and he grabs me by the arm, and he pulls me into the master bathroom, and he goes, that's a fucking hit. You understand that? It's a fucking hit. He goes, we have to cut this. And then the rest starts evolving, and I drift away from Lorber. I end up in San Francisco. I talked to Alec Milstein and Joel, who's the Cats. Alec mentioned Buzzy. Joel's like Mitchell Foreman. Hugenberger came. They all came up there. We converged on High Street Studios, cut that first Kimberly. So, but Joel was my longtime friend there. I mean, he was my escape. He mentored me. He let me use his sampler. He would here's an MPC. He would let me use his stuff and to get away from Lorber's. And he always encouraged me to keep going. Pick up the bass, dude. Do this.
You must have learned a lot about production though, hanging around Jeff, because Jeff's productions are off the hook, man.
My first gig, you don't understand. He was the guinea pig for Digidesign. You know, they were based out of Northern California, but they had an office on Ventura Boulevard. It's right by the Baked Potato. It still says Digidesign, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
They brought the card bus slots for sample, cell, and sound designer up to us. And Jeff would put them in a Mac Quadra 950, and I would have a turntable. And he belonged to this producer's record club. And he would bring in a stack of records, and he'd go, time to sample. And I would sit there. A lot of those break beats you hear, I don't know who the drummer is. Joel probably knows. But a lot of those break beats on those drummers, he would tell me, find snares, find fills, find horn snaps, do whatever you got, find an open spot. And that chokadoom that's in all the pop songs, takatoom.
That's JR, baby.
That came from Lorber's.
Ah.
A lot of people don't know that. That came from his studio. So I would sit there with floppies and with sound designer, and I would grab all those, and then he would come in there and help me truncate it. He said, do you know how to cut tape? And I would say yes, even though I didn't know how to, and I made a mistake. I would say just yes. Yes. Yes.
So this is when you're still doing it on tape.
Yes. Tape and the Mac. This was when everything was evolving. It was still tricky, but and then Dave Kaz, Lucky Man was my first record there at the end of Eric Benet, and then. I remember Jeff's album, Worth Waiting For. It was a duel between Hornsby and Jeff Lorber. And the transport's all the way in his control room, and the piano's in the living room. I can't see him, and I'm still learning how to punch in. Downbeat. Don't get any anomalies. Get the downbeat when they going. But Jeff's playing lightning fast. Like, and I try to get it. And Jeff calls me out and comes in there, and he turns it up on his big 15 inches or whatever those 18s are on the wall. And he's got it so loud and solos the piano, you can hear it ever so slight. And he just starts letting me have it. I throw my pager on the ground. I go down the hill to that little elementary school to play basketball, and Hornsby comes and gets me. He plays a couple shots with me, and he brings me back up there. But I was always, I learned so much from Jeff. He's a genius, but his social skills, everybody knows. I mean, he's just a genius, and that's the way they function. I mean, it's just, yes, no, you suck. I've seen players in there. I've seen them come in there, the greatest players in the world, and I'm going, thank you. You can go now. And it's just like, whoa, what just happened?
I'm not just going to say this because you're a great friend, John, is that I think you're a genius. And Tribal Reasons, I've got to hear a lot of what a lot of people didn't get to hear yet. And I know what you put into it, and I know how passionate you are and how you broke your balls, literally, to get a lot of things done. A lot of effort, a lot of passion, a lot of commitment, a lot of playing, a lot of hours, getting things to sound like we were talking about tape recordings. Well, you were mentioning it. I miss those days. I loved tracking without computers, but we live in a world nowadays where we do track with computers. Everything is on a computer, especially now. right?
That's why I'm
So
using more tape simulation on this project. I mean,
that's where I was going with this. Yes,
Yeah.
and it's
I found
obvious. Yep.
I found it lucky, this last Stu Ham lesson thing, 25 lessons. Actually, as much as I was like, nah, the money's not great or whatever, and
I
I was
feel you.
a little uptight, I took it and said, this gives me an opportunity to really experiment with Joel's drums, learn more. I wasn't going to be a mixing engineer. I always said, I don't know nothing. I mean, Joel remembers when I'd first get his drums. He's like, what are you doing, dude? I mean, I'm way out there. I'm way out of my water, dude. But now it isn't by some tech thing and a little bit of that, but just spending time.
No, the latest mixes that you sent me are off the hook, man. It sounds amazing. You should. I mean, I'm surprised that you've come this far this quickly, because I know you never, you would always hire out engineers to do your mixes, but just check this out. This is just solo drums on Give Me Time. Hold on a sec.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It starts to break up.
Let me know if it's too loud.
It's never too loud for me.
Well, I just don't want to distort it on it.
You're fine.
Hold on. Anyway,
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty badass.
Phil,
Yeah.
I love that shit. The 1 and a 2, 3.
That's actually some.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, buddy.
But the clarity, oh my gosh, the clarity, the definition, the body that John's been able to get on Joel's drums is really amazing. I mean, it blows me away how thick they sound and how clear they sound.
I knew when this project started that I wanted to. I didn't have the knowledge to, but I knew that I wanted all the musicality in all these cats and everybody that's been on Foreman, whatever, but especially Joel's drums. I would hear his drums sometimes on certain things that I'd be like, oh man, he gets pigeonholed, and to hear it, it's so much more. I wanted these big toms and these definition and the balls from it. And so I spent some time, whether it's right or wrong, the little experiments I'm trying, it's like I'm getting it out. Now I can feel it, because you walk away from so many records. Well, especially the two that I'm known for is the Civil War. I walk away going, it wasn't really all the way 100% what I heard in my head. And it was because I didn't have the knowledge to actually go, dude, right here, can we do this or that or this, or reverse a reverb tail, or do, print something backwards, or do this, or use tape, or this. I just let everybody kind of go, and then I would afterwards bitch about it. And I'm sure everybody.
That's the passion.
I'm happy with the body of work, but this is my baby. This is my baby, and I'm gonna make it like I live, So that's all I can do. I wish I would have had even the knowledge I have right now on the first track. I'm gonna go back in
2020, man. Yeah.
A little synth bass going on too crazy there, but it's come a long way, and hopefully we'll be able to do some more. But there's a release happening to everybody that hears this. There's one coming out Friday, So It's Goodbye. Then there's one November 2nd, which is the track drums he was just playing is Give Me Time. And we got The Way You Roll and Water Turns to Wine, which Johnny Signorella. Joel passed on that track. He had something going on. You heard it, and he was like, he already laid down all the other stuff. And then, John, you stepped up to the plate, and it's great.
Where'd you track it, Johnny? You got your own studio there?
I got a living room setup. Actually, I did it on electronics, running through Easy Drummer 2, which is a great program. And it was kind of like an impromptu thing. Johnny hit me up. He was like, you know, I think that you'd be great for this track. It's like right up your alley. I mean, I love all styles of music. I love playing to funk, jazz, hip hop, reggae, rock, all that shit. But he knows me as mainly a hard rock drummer, and the song kind of has that vibe, like the beginning, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. So I love sitting on that type of John Bonham type of boom, 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 just dig it.
It's like a Peter Gabriel meets. I would normally not do a song like this. I got to be honest with you. I love that stuff.
Very different for you,
like AC/DC. But then all of a sudden I found like King Crimson and all this crazy other shit, Stanley Clarke. And I was like, my mind was blown and I never wanted to cover songs again. But there's something about this track that I'm able to finesse the verse into like a Peter Gabriel style with that filter drum.
Absolutely.
And then bring out that Diary of a Madman. Now, everybody's not a fan of that. But with that Randy Rhoads kind of orchestration stuff that they did on that record, here's part of the music. Then the Gabriel takes over here. Philip Meyer orchestration.
Back it up, Johnny.
Yeah, put it up there.
A lot of bass harmonics I'm playing here.
There we go.
Anyway, you get the idea.
Yeah, man. I heard that those bottom kick drums in there.
I went Cashmere when I
Yeah.
When I approached that first, there were so many different things to look at, and then I sent my first cut to John, and you know I did have my electronic kit. I knew he was going to do his thing on his side, and I was able to, if I had to break out the Tama and go fucking crazy, because I wanted to be a part of this, because I respect Johnny and you guys so much. And so I'm like, let's try to cut it like this. It's convenient, you know. And so I sent him the first track. And my first cut, I was very like, kind of just like easy Johnny, you know. And then I called Johnny up, like, what do you think? He's like, I gotta sleep on it. He's like, I just want you to be you, man. I'm like, all right. So as a drummer, Joel, you know this. If someone says that, you're just like, kitchen sink, let's go get everything in the fucking house. I start experimenting.
It's the reverse with Joel.
So
kind of the reverse with him.
As the song opens up, like especially towards the end, I get loose, you know, because I'm starting to feel it.
Cool.
But Johnny's bass line, and plus like the orchestration in the background, for whatever reason, he's talking Peter Gabriel. I hear that. My approach was I heard Cashmere in my head, like.
Yeah,
you know
sure.
what I'm saying, like just that dig, and then just trying to get that drive in. One of my favorite drummers, obviously, of all time.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you're in Vegas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know my cousin? He's a great drummer there, Mark Dalzell.
Not familiar with the name. No.
Oh, okay.
In Vegas.
He worked. God, where's that place? He's working on the Strip. I'm trying to think. It's not a Cirque du Soleil thing. It's where they do the jousting.
Oh.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it right now. The Castle. The Casino.
The Castle. Yeah.
Excalibur.
Excalibur. Yeah, he's been there for a long time, but he also plays jazz and rock and like everything. He also has his own group there. I just wondered if you might have crossed paths.
Well, I'd like to at an eventual point. Let's put in contact both of us. Arnie, you play all the time, dude. Like every time I go on Facebook, I'm so jealous of your life. Every single time I see you, got a guitar in your hand. You're melting your own face with your own guitar. You got to be pretty damn good if you're melting your own face with your own guitar. Let's just face facts.
Oh my god! Oh, melting! Oh my god!
You're putting the guitar. to people listening, like he's literally putting the guitar and just rubbing it. Like,
in your face.
how often do you work? Do you work like every day?
Pretty damn near, actually. I mean,
hang on. I just
like,
gotta say this right now because it'll never.
What?
How I met him was on a Kimball gig. Bobby's brother passed away, and somebody called me and they said, I think it was Jasmine or somebody said, you need to come to the whiskey. Bobby wants to see you, blah, blah, blah. And I got there, and Dexter met me at the door and led me in. And I went to the dressing room and talked to Bobby, and then I stayed. And he lit up the stage, man. There was a guitar player on the left side, and Arnie was on the right side for my right, so it would be their stage left. But anyway, he was just so much energy, and his playing was, like you said,
Effortless.
Yeah, and so after that gig, I was watching Joel's studio for him because Joel would have me do that every now and then, watch the cats, and, you know, take care of things around there while he's out of the country. And that way, if he needs something, I can get on his computer, send it to him, whatever.
So going back to Arnie, man, you play very often. So it's essentially the Santana thing, which is brilliant. But what else are you doing?
I play. Okay, so I still do dates with Mark Farner. He calls me up, and still to this day, I do dates with him. I play with another band with Viva Santana. I also play with a traveling band. They're called Liquid Blue. They're based out of San Diego, but they have musicians from San Diego, Orange County, LA County, from Dallas, Texas, and from Arizona that all fly in to do dates. And literally, they play all over the world. Liquid Blue has they hold the Guinness Book of World Records for being the most traveled band. They have more miles than the Rolling Stones, than anybody else, literally. And the reason they do is because they kind of split bands. You know, they have like, you know, one part of Liquid Blues here, another part of Liquid Blues here. So they spread the members out and keep it going. But really cool band. It's just a cover band, 4-piece rhythm section, 5 front people, and a horn section. So it's
so you do corporate dates.
Corporate gigs.
Yeah,
do a lot of corporate dates. Yeah. So that's kind of what, you know, what
very well deserving, because you're playing. My father was a brilliant jazz blues player, a great guitarist, and I know a good player when I see a good player. That's how I got in this game. And so once I saw you right away, and it's not even because I'm in affiliation with John, but I was like, man, you know, this guy's got a soulfulness, effortless. Like, you don't even look at your guitar sometimes, and you're just crushing notes, like smashing these notes. Like, how do you do that? Because I play guitar, I'm like this all the time. Is that something that you just worked on, or?
Yeah, it's just a natural outflow. Like once I learned my scales and learned how to get around on the neck, I don't even think of people. Always, I teach a lot. They ask me, well, how are you doing your solos? What notes do you choose? I don't. I just, like, whatever feels right comes out, and I'll just go for notes. I mean, I already have the knowledge. I put a lot of time into learning my scales, learning my chords, knowing where everything is at, so that once I'm in, I know what, you know, whatever key we're in, I just go, and the patterns just flow.
I watch you when you play, and I'm big into blues, and when I play guitar, I work on my scales. I'm always I get too technical, because as a drummer, my mentality is I'm always looking at, like, where to hit, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I know that's why I brought this up, is because I noticed when you play, you're rolling that shit out. Like, with drums, I can do that. I can put a blindfold on, give me one hand, my wiener wang, and I can do some shit. It's not a problem.
That's how he was. That's how he was at the whiskey when I met him. So what I was saying is, I was at Joel's place and I called him the next day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're doing it.
I got a project, and we talked, and he was like all in, and then we got together, and Joel played drums. In and out of that Tribal Reasons project is Arnie, and me and Joel are the mainstay, and then you're on the track. But then Philip Meyer, please pray everybody for Philip Meyer. He had a stroke 2 years ago, and he's paralyzed on the left side, and he's sitting in the hospital. Nobody can visit him now.
Still?
Yeah.
Yeah, still.
Oh, I thought he got better. Oh, I didn't realize that.
He wants to take his. It's pretty bad, but what an amazing cat. He did orchestration on there. Stuart Ham plays on a track. Mitchell Foreman's all over it. Tom Saviano, Billy Churchville, Eric Jurgensen, Matt Rohde. Who else am I missing, guys? Dexter Espinoza.
Yeah.
If I did,
Johnny Signorella.
Yeah, get me on that. Throw me in there.
I did say that. He's on
He did. No, he did.
After this show is done, guys, we're going to wrap in a few moments. We're going to play a track. Johnny, you want to tell us about this track that we're going to play?
Which track is that? I don't know.
The one that's up to you, whatever you want. Because after this show wraps up, I'm going to throw that show up there with some your graphics for tribal reasons.
I guess it should probably be "Give Me Time." "So Is Goodbye" is a story. Everybody thinks it's about a girl. It was about my relationship with drugs in San Francisco. It was just kind of a tongue-in-cheek. I'm now 15 years sober.
Congratulations on that.
Well, I didn't really have a choice. I was dead in a hospital bed, and they revived me twice, so I had time to wake up. So anyway, the track you're going to hear is "Give Me Time," and it's just about, trying to make it in this biz that we're all in the struggles. There's a line in there where it says caviar taste, panfish pockets. It's literally me thinking I'm walking down the street and seeing people in Beverly Hills eating caviar, and I got bluegill in my pocket. We're going to be doing an animation video Robert Kaufman's going to do, and they're doing an avatar of Joel, me, and Arnie, and it's going to be band shots and stuff. It's going to be really cool. So "Give Me Time" is just about what do we need more of? Always time. It's like when I start dealing with stuff during the day, there's so many other things I need to get to, and you end up spending all your time on one thing in music. And so,
believe me, I know.
We always need more time. So give me some time. It's a swampy rock groove, I guess, and I'm hacking away at the vocals, and Arnie's got his guitars jacked up, and Joel's beating the shit out of the drums.
Yeah, man. So as we close out, the listeners, you'll get that within the next minute. You'll be able to hear it on here. You get a taste of what's going on, full song to completion, And
well, hang on, whoa, hang on. It comes out comes out November 2nd. Why don't we talk about a teaser part of it, if you would?
Okay, you just want to do a teaser? Just the tip. You just want to put the tip in, not the whole thing.
Well, unless they can download it. I mean, hang on a second. I don't mean to be like the police here, but let's just, for real quick, talk about the industry in right now. We don't have a filter anymore, which used to be radio. And I think that's probably people like that have studied, like Joel. I mean, I didn't do a huge amount of studying, but I put a lot of time in this. And Arnie, it's like, we don't have a filter anymore, so they're letting 100,000 songs hit these platforms every month. There's no like, who's got this level? I want everybody to create, trust me. But what it causes is for us to have to sit here and put descriptions of songs to be able to get a chance at an editorial playlist, which is eventually Spotify, where we're making 0.00001 of a cent per stream. I mean, I put those facts out there. Peter Frampton had 20 million streams, and he got $4,000 or something like that, or maybe it was 400 or 700.
I did a show last week. I got my answer. It did 2,000 views. I got 20 cents for it.
Oh my God!
It did 2,000 views, I think, because the analytics that came in. It's a weekly review, and the show was towards the end of the week, so I try to get shows in when I can. And it was like a 48-hour to 76-hour window. It got 2,000 hits on one platform, and I'm on like 20 different platforms: iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, all this shit, YouTube. 20 cents. So I don't want to do it for the money. This is like a secondary. This is a passion.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What I
show is a passion.
All the musicians in this industry, as these fairness acts come up, to please stand up and have a voice heard. If there's any voting involved or any kind of advocacy, please get involved, because it's turned this thing. Google CEO wants to turn all YouTube music free. So how are we supposed to pay to record this stuff? How are we supposed to hire the session players? How are they supposed to make a living to make their house payments and car payments and feed their families and themselves? I mean, it's just like washed out. I don't mean to be the old boomer in the sack here, like griping. But at some point, if you think about back when radio was radio, they were like, hey, coming out this week is Aerosmith Walk This Way, and it's like
Right.
everybody had this tier of like they're going all in. You know, there was a level, and now you have hacks and great people all coming out at the same time, and nobody knows what's what anymore. There's no
My
significance
father,
to it anymore.
I think I mentioned before, it was a great musician. He was in a wedding band, a party band, 80s, 90s. Oh, never mind that. 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way to the day, unfortunately, he passed away. He gigged 4 to 5 nights a week. He also did other things like teach and do real estate. You know, he worked his ass off. But the point was, there was an opportunity for the musician to be a working musician. Go play the wedding band and kick some ass. Every once in a while, I had the opportunity to sit in for his drummer when his drummer, you know, who was my drum mentor and instructor, Dino Calicari, loved this man so much, one of the greatest drummers I've ever seen play. I was able to come in and play at like 18 years old and play, you know, The Wind Beneath My Wings and all this other shit, you know, top 40 hits all night long, you know, and happy and sad songs. And I walked out with $800 to put a suit on or a tux, you know, mingle with some, you know, housewives and have a good time. I'm like, this is the life. Nowadays,
Yeah. So the
Tough business.
Yep,
So
different business.
The key things that help here are like on this project here, I had a chance to go with an LA-based label. But the problem is nobody really knows who John Zaika is. They know who Joel is and stuff, but we're not artists of like, we've had like all these popular releases and Arnie, it's like they know me from Bobby Kimball, and it's like for them to put money behind media and marketing, it ain't gonna happen. I mean, I watched that go down with several people, so it was a better opportunity to independently release this on our own and guide our own stuff. But part of that is like when you put a post out on social media and say, hey, can you guys do me a favor if you like our music so much, hit pre-save. It doesn't cost anything. And that helps direct it towards those editorial playlists, which then it gets into rotation where people hear it. We're not going to make millions of dollars, but it will help us, you know, pay for stuff to record again or pay for plugins or pay for, you know, whatever.
It goes back to passion. It goes back to passion.
So Tribal Reasons, Friday is So It's Goodbye comes out. Joel Taylor on drums, Philip Meyer string section, Arnie guitar, written by me and Arnie and Joel. I'm on vocals, Arnie and Dexter background vocals. And then the second is Give Me Time. Also, Joel has a project out. What's it called? The Brig, Joel?
Yeah, I've got a jam band that we worked in Venice at a club called The Brig for like 15 years. And before it kind of stopped doing music a couple of years ago, we had basically would just show up and jam. You know, no preset tunes. We might go into something, you know, go into a Steely Dan tune or something, you know, to pull something from the books that we all kind of knew. But it was basically a free-form jam, and we did that for like 15 years. And the record, the band's called The Brig Band, and the record is called Alive and Plugged. And that just came out about a month ago. And all the jams on there are based upon our spontaneous jams. We found tapes of them, and then we got, okay, well, this is good for the verse section, so let's write a chorus. Let's do that. So it's all instrumental. We have a DJ with us as well, 2 or 3 horn players. It's kind of in the funk genre, but anyway, check that out. That just came out.
And when you guys, if you hear this, the Brig Band, the Tribal Reasons, the Hereafter, John Signorella's band, his buddy Bill. I mean, it's like if you people that listen and you want to support the music, if you hit that little heart when you're in Spotify and you're listening to it, that helps guide it. So if their stuff's funk jazz, it'll go towards that playlist. If this is pop rock, it'll go towards that. If theirs is prog rock, it'll go towards that. That way it's not all in this diluted thing where everybody's like, this isn't pop music like Bruno Mars. This isn't like, you know, this or country or whatever. That's the problem we're seeing here. Is it's like there's so many webs weaving across each other. Nobody knows where it's at. And it'll come up in playlists that way. So you'll be hearing similar stuff. So that really helps.
Absolutely.
Pre-saves and hitting that heart button.
You know what I feel like with modern music, what we need, and there's a lot of great modern music. Obviously, I'm a big Tool fan. Tool released a great record, Fear Inoculum, which is just amazing. Every time I put it on, I got to go start to finish, sit on my balcony, meditate, smoke 1,000 cigarettes, maybe have a couple drinks.
I went to a couple of those mix sessions with Danny.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, when he was doing his drum solo, when they were mixing the drum solo down, he invited me out.
Yeah, chocolate chip. Yeah.
Nasty, man. Because they mix it right up the road at Joe's house. Yeah.
What a
or Joe's studio. Oh yeah,
amazing.
Danny's the shit.
Yeah, so we do have modern music that's still out there, just like we need with movies. You know, like bring back the old school movie. We need a good movie, a solid movie now over here.
Okay, so here's another shameless plug. Eric Roberts, if you hear this.
Yes.
And Quentin Tarantino or Marty Scorsese, you need to get Eric Roberts in there, man. You guys need to do an old school Vegas, the Rat Pack or something one of those nostalgic tales of that very dark. Eric, Star 88, Pope of Greenwich Village, man. Come on. He's deep, dude. Eric is the bomb.
He was a great guy, too. He's a good friend of mine, man. Had him on my show twice. His wife is wonderful. I had his son.
His son's an amazing musician.
Keaton's ridiculous. Keaton Simons plays very soulful and bluesy. Right now he's on tour with country artist Brett Young. But they're just good people. And like you guys, you're great people. Whenever you meet great people that you idolize, it's such a great, remarkable experience. Because there's people that you can meet out there, and guys, we know about this in music, especially, where you're like, hey, I like this guy, and then all of a sudden, like 5 seconds after, like you idolize him your whole life, and then 5 seconds, I'm not gonna name names, but you'll be like, I don't like this guy anymore, and so I don't listen to his fucking music anymore. Like, screw this guy. Yeah. It happens, man.
It happens.
It happens, but being shocked right now.
But you guys were fantastic. This show will be up soon. Probably as early as tomorrow morning. John, just do me a favor. Send me that clip of the compilation that you want to, or the teaser that you want to share.
You know, I don't mind sharing the whole song with you, John. It's like Tribal Reasons coming to a speaker near you.
All right.
There you go. And I'll clip
Peace,
that
guys.
part out. Peace. Joel, you were fantastic.
Hey, nice to meet you, John.
Fantastic. Yo, a pleasure. I can't wait till we can hang out.
Yeah, I think we're thinking about doing a Vegas trip in the next couple of months, so I'll let you know.
My house is your house. You come here, and I'll treat you guys amazingly. Trust me.
Sounds good.
Yeah, man.
Right on, man.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Thank you, John. All right, guys.
See you guys.
Soon. Yep. Later.